You've spent countless hours moving through life on autopilot, reacting to distractions, drifting from one thing to the next without pause. You tell yourself you are busy, that you are doing enough, but deep inside there is a quiet unrest, a subtle whisper that you are not truly moving forward. Growth never comes from half measures, from scattered attention, or from the comfort of ease. It comes when you confront yourself honestly, when you force your mind to settle, when you demand focus even when the world conspires to pull you in every direction. Epictetus reminds us that no person is free who is not master of themselves. This mastery begins not with action, but with attention. To grow, you must first learn to direct your mind as an archer directs an arrow, with purpose, with intention, with unwavering focus. Life will always offer distractions, temptations, and excuses, but the moment you choose to anchor your attention, that is the moment you begin to rise above the chaos. This is not easy. Marcus Aurelius wrote that if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. When you focus, you are not just working on tasks or goals. You are reclaiming your mind from the endless pull of external noise. You are stepping into a power that most people never even acknowledge exists. Growth requires this daily commitment, this quiet discipline, this willingness to face your mind and say, I will not scatter myself today. I will not hand over my energy to what does not matter. Imagine for a moment how often you give your attention to things that leave you feeling smaller, exhausted, or unfulfilled. Social media, gossip, endless comparisons, the weight of other people's opinions, all of these fragments steal pieces of your mind without your permission. Seneca once said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Think about that. So much of the energy we waste is spent on illusions, on projections, on worries that may never manifest. Focus is not merely a tool for productivity, it is a shield against the unnecessary suffering that arises when the mind is unmoored. To focus is to reclaim your life moment by moment. It is to recognize that every hour, every thought, and every action is an opportunity to shape the person you will become. Viktor Frankl, in the darkest moments of his life, observed that even when all external freedom is stripped away, the ability to choose one's attitude remains. This is the same principle in quiet life. The freedom to choose where your attention goes. To force yourself to focus is to take ownership of your inner world. It is to become a guardian of your own mind, refusing to let it wander into the chaos that waits for it at every corner. There will be resistance, of course. The mind will crave distraction, comfort, and avoidance. That is natural. Growth never asks for comfort, it asks for courage, and the courage to focus, to commit, to hold steady against the pull of inertia is the seed from which all meaningful change will grow. Each day you practice this, you plant that seed deeper, and slowly, almost imperceptibly, it begins to take root. And once it does, you notice that life no longer tosses you about with the same force. You begin to respond instead of react, to see instead of glance, to act instead of drift. This is the power of focus. It is quiet, subtle, but transformative, reshaping your mind and your life with patient, deliberate care. Think about the moments when you felt truly alive, when clarity arrived like a quiet sunrise inside your mind. Those moments are rare not because they are hard to find, but because our attention is scattered. Marcus Aurelius taught that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Every distraction, every wandering impulse subtly colors your soul with restlessness and confusion. If you wish to grow, if you wish to reach a level of depth in life that few experience, you must choose where your thoughts reside. Growth is not a matter of doing more. It is a matter of seeing clearly, of simplifying, of cutting away the noise that clouds your perception. Epictetus reminds us that external events themselves are indifferent. What matters is how we direct our mind toward them. To force yourself to focus is to treat your own mind as sacred, to treat your inner life as the foundation upon which all your actions must stand. There is no shortcut here. The mind resists control naturally. It prefers distraction, novelty, and ease. But when you insist on focus, when you practice the discipline to attend fully to a single task, a single thought, a single pursuit, you are doing more than accomplishing, you are transforming yourself. Viktor Frankl understood this in the extremes of suffering. Even when the world seemed unbearably cruel, when freedom was stripped away, he found that the one inviolable domain remained the clarity of his attention and the purpose he gave to each moment. In daily life you have a similar power. Each time you resist the pull of distraction, each time you choose the deliberate act over the easy indulgence, you build an inner strength invisible to the outside world, but palpable in your own being. Growth is never immediate. It is quiet, subtle, often imperceptible, until one day you look back and realize that the person you are today is entirely the product of those countless small, focused choices. This is the beauty and the challenge. Focus is both the path and the instrument of your own evolution. There is a quiet tragedy in how much of life passes without conscious attention. Many move from one day to the next as though swept by an invisible current, never stopping to notice that they are, in effect, giving away the only true thing they possess, their mind. Seneca warned that it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Every thought allowed to drift without purpose, every moment surrendered to distraction, is a moment lost to growth, lost to the cultivation of character, lost to the formation of a life that is truly ours. To force yourself to focus is not an act of productivity alone, it is an act of reclaiming sovereignty over your own existence. When you discipline your attention, you create a stillness within that the external world cannot touch. This is where true power resides. Viktor Frankl observed that even when everything is stripped away, possessions, comfort, freedom, one can still choose their focus. One can still choose the lens through which they perceive the world. That choice defines the difference between despair and resilience. In practice, focus demands patience. It demands that you resist the seductive whispers of ease and immediate gratification. Growth cannot be rushed, because the mind itself must first learn to sit still, to resist the pull of chaos, to observe without being swept away. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Every effort to anchor your attention, no matter how small, compounds. Each time you bring your mind back to what truly matters, you strengthen the foundation upon which wisdom, creativity, and mastery are built. It is not glamorous, and it is not always visible, but it is the essence of progress. The person who masters their attention masters themselves, and the person who masters themselves quietly, yet relentlessly, begins to rise above the currents that claim so many others, walking a path of clarity, depth, and purpose that no distraction can disturb. Consider for a moment the immense power hidden in a single undistracted mind. So much of life is spent reacting, endlessly responding to emails, messages, news, the endless pull of other people's priorities. Few realize that growth does not arrive from doing more, it arrives from doing less, but with total attention. Epictetus teaches us that we are not disturbed by things, but by the view we take of them. When you force yourself to focus, you shift your perspective from the noise outside to the clarity within. You begin to see not only the tasks before you, but the patterns of your own life, the subtle habits, the hidden choices that shape who you are becoming. Focus transforms ordinary action into deliberate creation. Marcus Aurelius urges us to act with integrity in the smallest moments, for it is in these quiet decisions that character is forged. Each time your mind resists distraction, each time you return to what truly matters, you are strengthening a muscle that most neglect, the ability to hold your attention steady, to claim mastery over yourself in a world built to fragment it. Growth is not a spectacle, it is quiet, internal, relentless in its accumulation. Viktor Frankl observed that even in the most extreme circumstances, it is the ability to choose your focus that preserves dignity and shapes destiny. In the ordinary flow of life, this principle is no less powerful. Every time you redirect your attention from what is superficial to what is essential, you are exercising the same freedom that the greatest minds have valued across history. The path of focus is not always visible to others, and it may never be celebrated, but it is the only path that leads to genuine transformation. When you embrace this discipline, you discover that time itself becomes richer, that life feels fuller, and that your potential expands quietly, steadily, and irreversibly. There is a subtle strength in stillness that most people never recognize. Life tempts us with movement, noise, and constant stimulation, convincing us that motion equals progress. Yet, without focus, motion is merely busyness, a surface-level distraction that leaves the soul unfulfilled. Seneca reflected, "It is not that we have little time, but more that we waste much of it." True growth arises when you deliberately slow down, when you insist on presence in every thought, every action, every interaction. Forcing yourself to focus is in essence an act of courage. Courage to confront your own mind. Courage to resist the endless pull of distraction. Courage to claim your own time and attention as sacred. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Dwell on the beauty of life, watch the stars, and see yourself running with them. But to truly dwell, to truly see, you must train your attention." Focus is the bridge between awareness and transformation. Viktor Frankl endured circumstances that would have shattered most, yet he discovered that even in the darkest confinement, the mind could remain free when directed with intention. You too possess this power every day, not in extremes but in the ordinary, when you refuse to give your energy to what does not matter, when you return again and again to what truly shapes your life. There will be moments of frustration, moments when your mind rebels and pulls you toward ease or distraction. This is natural. What defines progress is not perfection but persistence. Each effort to center your mind, each refusal to surrender to noise, accumulates quietly, invisibly, until you notice a shift. Your thoughts begin to flow with clarity, your actions align with your values, and the weight of indecision diminishes. Focus is a subtle art, but it is also a formidable weapon. When wielded consistently, it turns chaos into order, confusion into insight, and potential into reality. The more you cultivate it, the more your life transforms, not overnight, but steadily, irrevocably, with the calm force of deliberate attention. There is a profound difference between activity and meaningful effort. Many of us confuse busyness with progress, thinking that simply moving, responding, or filling our days is equivalent to growth. But the truth is far more subtle. Growth is not accidental, and it never comes to those who scatter their energy like seeds on barren ground. Epictetus teaches that first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. The first step is internal. It is about clarity, about knowing where your attention should rest. Without this, action is hollow, achievements fleeting, and life drifts past without depth. To force yourself to focus is to align every thought with your purpose, every decision with your values, every moment with intention. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Distractions, temptations, and the endless chatter of the mind are not enemies. They are the tests of your discipline. When you learn to center yourself, to hold your attention steady against these currents, you discover a resilience that extends beyond any task or goal. Viktor Frankl observed that even when everything external is lost, the mind's focus can create meaning, and meaning transforms suffering into growth. The ordinary moments of life are where this power resides. The morning you dedicate to thought, the conversation you give full attention to, the work you pursue with care rather than haste. Each act of deliberate focus strengthens your capacity to shape your reality, to cultivate a mind that is calm, present, and unyielding in the face of chaos. Focus is both discipline and liberation. It confines your mind, in the sense that you refuse to scatter it, yet it frees your spirit to reach depths and heights that distraction would never allow. When you practice this consistently, the world begins to appear less overwhelming. Challenges are met with composure, opportunities are seen with clarity, and the life you build is no longer dictated by impulses, but by conscious, steady choice. This is the essence of growth, a mind disciplined in attention, quietly mastering the chaos around it while cultivating the power within. Think about how easily life tempts us to surrender our attention. Every day the world offers infinite distractions, messages that demand a response, notifications that pull at our curiosity, the endless parade of voices telling us what to think, how to feel, what to desire. Most people drift along, giving themselves away little by little, never realizing that their most valuable possession is the capacity to direct their own mind. Seneca warned that it is the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor. In modern life, craving is often disguised as distraction. To grow, you must learn to choose where your attention goes, to insist upon clarity when everything else seeks to fragment you. Focus is not merely a skill, it is a form of sovereignty. Epictetus teaches that freedom is not in external circumstances, but in mastery over oneself. When you force your mind to settle, when you hold it firmly on what matters, you reclaim that freedom. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. And what are thoughts but attention directed? Growth comes not from fleeting inspiration but from the patient, deliberate cultivation of inner calm and purpose. Viktor Frankl's experiences in unimaginable suffering reveal that the human spirit can endure, even thrive, when attention is directed with intention. This principle is not limited to extremes, it applies quietly to ordinary life. Each moment you resist distraction, each act of returning your mind to what is meaningful, is a small act of liberation. Over time, these moments accumulate, transforming you in ways imperceptible at first but undeniable with reflection. The person who masters attention becomes resilient, calm, and capable, navigating life with clarity where others flounder. And the paradox is this: by confining your mind to what truly matters, you find it expanding in depth, insight, and power. Focus is not merely a technique. It is the foundation of a life well lived, the first step toward freedom and the bedrock upon which growth is built. There is a quiet danger in living a life without deliberate attention. Days blur together, hours slip away, and slowly, imperceptibly, we become strangers to ourselves. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." The weight of these words is not meant to frighten but to awaken. Each moment carries the potential for depth, yet most squander it, allowing their minds to wander without purpose. To force yourself to focus is to step into your own life fully, to reclaim the fragments of consciousness that scatter in every direction. Seneca reminds us that he who is everywhere is nowhere. When the mind is scattered, achievements, relationships, and even joy lose their meaning. Viktor Frankl teaches us that meaning arises not from circumstance, but from where we place our attention, from the choices we make even when freedom seems limited. In practice, this means resisting the lure of distraction, however small, however subtle. It is not merely about concentration on tasks, but about choosing the mental climate you inhabit, the values you cultivate, and the intentions you nurture. Growth demands that you practice this consistently, that you return your mind again and again to what matters, even when the noise tempts you to abandon it, reshapes your thoughts, your habits, and ultimately your life. The discipline of attention is not harsh or punitive. It is the quiet expression of respect for yourself, for your time, and for your potential. When you master this, the chaos of the world ceases to dominate you. You begin to act with purpose, to respond with clarity, and to live with the serenity that comes from knowing you are the architect of your own mind. Focus is not a fleeting skill. It is a practice, a sanctuary, and a vehicle through which true growth becomes inevitable. There is a quiet power in learning to sit with yourself without distraction. Most of life moves too fast. We fill our days with noise, interruptions, and fleeting entertainment, convincing ourselves that this is living. But growth, true growth, requires stillness, patience, and the willingness to confront the mind directly. Epictetus reminds us that wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Attention, when scattered, is a hidden poverty, a subtle form of lack that prevents insight, depth, and progress. By forcing yourself to focus, you begin to reclaim this wealth, this abundance of mental clarity. Marcus Aurelius writes, "Be like the rocky headland on which the waves constantly break. It stands firm, and around it the seething waters are laid to rest." Focus anchors the mind in the same way. Distraction may batter, temptation may beckon, and chaos may swirl around you, yet a trained mind remains steady, calm, and unshakable. Viktor Frankl discovered in the most extreme conditions that freedom lies in attention, in the conscious choice of where to place one's inner gaze. This is a lesson that applies to ordinary life just as much as extraordinary circumstances. Each time you resist the pull of what is trivial, each time you return to what truly matters, you exercise your freedom, fortify your resilience, and cultivate the inner strength necessary for meaningful achievement. Focus transforms not only what you accomplish, but who you are becoming. It shapes character, strengthens resolve, and refines judgment. The person who consistently chooses attention over distraction gains not only efficiency, but clarity, purpose, and a quiet joy that is immune to the noise of the world. Growth does not demand speed or spectacle. It demands deliberate, sustained focus, the unwavering practice of living intentionally, moment by moment, thought by thought. There is a certain gravity in the act of focus that cannot be replicated by distraction or haste. Life often tempts us with the illusion that constant motion is progress, that busyness equals value. Yet Marcus Aurelius reminds us, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. The principle is the same for the mind. If your attention is not purposeful, it is wasted. To force yourself to focus is to align every thought with your values, to direct every action toward what is meaningful, and to resist the subtle seductions of convenience and ease. Epictetus teaches that no man is free who is not master of himself. Mastery begins here, in the quiet determination to control your mind, to decide where it rests, and to refuse the frivolous pull of distraction. Viktor Frankl observed that even in the most extreme confinement, the mind remained a place of freedom, a space where intention could flourish and meaning could be discovered. In ordinary life, this principle is no less profound. Each decision to focus, each refusal to scatter your attention, compounds over time. You begin to notice a shift in the way you perceive challenges, in the clarity with which you make decisions, and in the steadiness of your emotional state. Growth is never instantaneous. It is built quietly, moment by moment, through the deliberate choice to hold your mind to what matters most. This discipline may feel subtle, almost imperceptible, yet it shapes everything. A mind trained in focus is unshakable in adversity, creative in problem-solving, and serene in the face of distraction. The world may try to scatter your attention, but the person who commits to focus builds an inner fortress, a sanctuary of clarity from which true growth and freedom emerge. Focus is not just a habit, it is a declaration of independence from chaos, a conscious act of creation, and the foundation upon which a meaningful life is constructed. There is a profound difference between living reactively and living with deliberate attention. Most people drift through life responding to the next notification, the next demand, or the next fleeting impulse, never realizing that every moment spent in distraction diminishes their potential. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is the essence of focus. It is not about controlling the world around you, but mastering the landscape within. Epictetus reminds us that freedom is born from the ability to direct your own attention, to hold it firmly on what is valuable, and to refuse the pull of what is trivial. Growth demands this kind of mastery, for without it, effort dissipates and life slips by unnoticed. Viktor Frankl discovered that even in conditions of extreme suffering, meaning and resilience depended upon the careful management of attention. The lesson for us is clear. Every time you bring your mind back from distraction, every time you insist upon clarity, you are building a fortress of inner strength. Focus is not an occasional act. It is a way of inhabiting your own life, a commitment to honor your time and your mind. Each act of deliberate attention accumulates quietly, transforming thought into clarity, effort into purpose, and potential into tangible growth. Seneca warned that it is not that we have little time, but that we waste much of it. By forcing yourself to focus, you reclaim the hours lost to noise, the energy lost to indecision, and the clarity lost to triviality. Over time, the mind trained in focus becomes resilient, steady, and capable, navigating challenges with calm, seeing opportunity where others see only chaos, and moving with intentionality where others drift without aim. The practice of focus is subtle, but its effects are profound. It shapes character, strengthens resolve, and becomes the invisible engine of a life that is meaningful, purposeful, and deeply fulfilling. There is a quiet courage in the act of focusing your mind that many never recognize. It requires turning away from comfort, from the easy allure of distraction, and facing the raw reality of your own thoughts. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." What does that mean for you today? Every unguarded moment, every thought surrendered to distraction, subtly shapes who you are becoming. To force yourself to focus is to reclaim the palette of your own mind, to choose the colors with which you will dye your soul. Epictetus reminds us that impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. Focus demands humility, the willingness to observe your mind without illusion, to see clearly the patterns that govern your life, and to direct attention deliberately toward growth. Viktor Frankl endured circumstances that would have broken anyone, yet he found freedom in the deliberate choice of where to place his attention. This freedom is available to you every day, in every decision, to return your mind to what truly matters. Growth is not the result of fleeting inspiration, but of consistent, patient attention, moment by moment, thought by thought. Seneca said, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve." This principle applies not only to relationships, but to your internal landscape. Choose carefully what you allow into your mind, where you allow it to dwell, and what you cultivate with your focus. Each act of attention strengthens your ability to navigate life with clarity and calm, to perceive opportunity where others see chaos, and to shape your character quietly yet irreversibly. True growth, therefore, begins in the mind, in the disciplined, deliberate act of directing your focus, in the courage to remain present when the world seeks to scatter you, and in the relentless practice of attending to what is essential. This is the path toward mastery of self, toward the quiet, steady rise that defines a life lived with purpose. The mind is a powerful instrument, yet it is fragile when left untended. Most people drift through life as though attention is unlimited, as though every thought, every moment, is disposable. But Marcus Aurelius reminds us, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one. And before you can be a good man, or a good human, your attention must be firmly under your control. Epictetus. Us teaches that external events are indifferent. What matters is how we direct our thoughts in response to them. To grow, to rise above mediocrity, you must cultivate the ability to hold your mind steady, to resist the constant tug of distraction, and to anchor yourself in what truly matters. Viktor Frankl discovered that even in the harshest circumstances, a focused mind could find meaning and purpose. In everyday life, this is no less essential. Each time you force yourself to focus on the work at hand, the learning you seek, or the growth you pursue, you reclaim not only your time but your very life. Seneca said, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future. But to enjoy the present, you must be fully here, fully engaged, fully attentive." Focus is the doorway to presence. It is the discipline that allows the mind to become quiet, clear, and receptive. Without it, life passes unnoticed, consumed by trivialities and external noise. With it, you begin to notice patterns, to understand your own motivations, and to shape your destiny with deliberate care. Growth is the cumulative effect of these moments, the quiet yet unstoppable result of attention applied with intention. The world may pull you in every direction, but a mind trained in focus remains unshakable, patient, and serene, building a life that is not dictated by circumstance, but by conscious choice. There is a subtle strength in attending to what truly matters that most people never experience. Life offers countless distractions, each one more seductive than the last, pulling the mind away from its highest purpose. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be content with what you are, and wish not change, nor dread your last day, nor long for it." Contentment and growth alike demand a focused mind, one that is fully present and undistracted, one that refuses to be scattered by the endless stimuli of the world. Epictetus reminds us that wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. The mind that craves distraction is impoverished. The mind that chooses focus is rich. Viktor Frankl's experiences in the harshest of circumstances illustrate a timeless truth. Even when external freedom is taken away, the freedom to focus remains. Each time, you deliberately return your mind to what matters, your work, your purpose, your character. You exercise this freedom and strengthen it. Focus is not merely concentration. It is the conscious act of shaping your inner world, of aligning your thoughts with your highest values. Seneca observed that it is not that we have little time, but that we waste much of it. Every moment you devote to the trivial, every impulse that scatters your attention steals from the person you are becoming. Growth requires vigilance, the persistent, deliberate effort to cultivate attention, to resist the pull of ease, and to act with intention. Over time, these small acts compound. Your mind becomes sharper, your decisions clearer, and your life steadier. The person who masters focus develops a quiet authority over themselves, a calm resilience in the face of adversity, and an inner clarity that allows them to navigate the world with purpose and wisdom. True growth, therefore, begins with attention. It begins with the choice to hold your mind firmly on what matters, even when distraction is constant, even when the world seeks to scatter you. Marcus Aurelius observed, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Thoughts are the raw material of your existence. Scattered thoughts yield scattered results, while focused thoughts build character, strength, and clarity." Epictetus teaches that it is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. The ability to react with calm, with deliberate attention, begins with focus. Growth demands that you cultivate this skill, that you practice holding your mind to what is meaningful, and that you resist the countless pulls of distraction that seek to claim it. Viktor Frankl endured unimaginable suffering and discovered that the human spirit can remain free when attention is placed with intention. This lesson is not only for extreme circumstances, it applies quietly, insistently to daily life. Each time you return your mind to purpose, each time you refuse the ease of distraction, you strengthen your inner authority, your capacity for calm, and your resilience. Seneca warned, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Each wasted moment is a missed opportunity to shape your character, to build your strength, and to cultivate your potential. Focus transforms ordinary moments into steps of progress, challenges into lessons, and effort into meaningful growth. The mind that practices attention steadily develops a depth and clarity that allows it to move through the world without being tossed about by chaos. When you commit to this discipline, the results are subtle yet profound. Your life gains coherence, your actions acquire purpose, and your inner world becomes a sanctuary of calm amidst the noise of the external world. Mastery of attention is, ultimately, mastery of self, and mastery of self is the foundation upon which all growth, all fulfillment, and all freedom is built. Life constantly offers distractions, urgent messages, endless news, trivial entertainment that pull us away from what truly matters. Yet the moments when we deliberately return our attention to what is essential are the moments in which freedom quietly emerges. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is the essence of focus. It is not about controlling the world, but mastering the inner domain where real life unfolds. Epictetus teaches that no man is free who is not master of himself. True mastery begins with attention. Viktor Frankl's observations in extreme conditions reveal a profound truth. Even when the world is cruel and circumstances are limiting, the mind remains an untouchable space where meaning can be created. The ordinary moments of life offer the same opportunity. Each decision to resist distraction, each choice to bring your attention back to what truly matters, strengthens your capacity to navigate life with clarity and calm. Seneca reminds us that it is not that we have little time, but that we waste much of it. Every moment given to the trivial steals from the person you are becoming. Growth arises not from fleeting bursts of effort, but from steady, deliberate attention applied day after day. With practice, focus transforms the ordinary into extraordinary, work becomes purposeful, learning becomes profound, and challenges become opportunities to cultivate resilience. The person who masters attention develops a mind that is calm, deliberate, and unshakable, capable of meeting life on its terms rather than reacting to its chaos. In this discipline lies true power, quiet yet unstoppable, the power to shape yourself, to rise above distraction, and to live a life aligned with your deepest values. There is a quiet force in the mind that chooses focus over distraction, a force that shapes life more profoundly than effort alone. Most people measure progress by the quantity of what they do, but true growth is measured by the quality of attention they bring to each moment. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Each scattered thought leaves an imperceptible mark, coloring your life with restlessness and confusion." Epictetus teaches that freedom lies in mastery of the self, and this mastery begins with attention. To focus is to reclaim the territory of your mind from the endless pull of the external world. Viktor Frankl discovered that even in the harshest of circumstances, a mind anchored in intention could find meaning and create purpose. Imagine that in your own life, the small, deliberate acts of attention, repeated daily, have the power to cultivate resilience, clarity, and strength. Seneca warned, "We are always complaining that our days are few, and acting as though there would be no end to them. Every wasted thought, every surrender to distraction, is a moment lost from the life you could shape." Focus transforms ordinary experience into a tool of growth. Each time you redirect your attention from the trivial to the essential, you strengthen a muscle invisible to others but potent within yourself. Over time, the mind trained in focus becomes calm, deliberate, and capable of holding steady amidst chaos. Life no longer sweeps you along passively, you respond with clarity, insight, and intention. In the quiet discipline of focus, you discover freedom, the freedom to live deliberately, to cultivate character, and to shape your destiny from the inside out. Life constantly demands it, yet few respond with awareness. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is not a call to control the uncontrollable, but a reminder that the one thing truly within your command is your focus. Epictetus teaches that it is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. To grow, you must observe your own mind, confront your distractions, and direct your thoughts toward what is essential. Viktor Frankl endured suffering beyond imagination, yet he discovered that even in confinement, the choice of focus remained free, and with that choice, meaning could be found. Each deliberate act of attention in daily life is a quiet exercise of freedom, a reclaiming of your inner sovereignty. Seneca reminds us, it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Every trivial thought surrendered, every distraction indulged, is time lost, potential squandered. Growth requires patience and persistence, the repeated act of returning the mind to what matters. In doing so, you cultivate clarity, resilience, and insight. Challenges become manageable, decisions become deliberate, and life takes on a depth that casual living cannot provide. The mind trained in focus is not merely concentrated, it is disciplined, serene, and unshakable. When you practice this consistently, the external world loses its power to scatter or disturb you. Focus becomes not just a skill, but a form of self-respect, a declaration that your inner life matters more than the noise around you. In this discipline lies the quiet foundation of all growth, all freedom, and all meaningful action. There is a profound difference between simply existing and living with focus. Most of life is spent in a fog of distractions, fleeting pleasures, and reactive behavior, leaving the soul restless and unfulfilled. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Dwell on the beauty of life. Watch the stars and see yourself running with them. But to truly dwell, to truly witness, the mind must be present and disciplined." Epictetus teaches that first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Growth begins with clarity, knowing where your attention should rest, and then acting with intention in accordance with that clarity. Viktor Frankl demonstrated that even in the most extreme suffering, the ability to focus could provide freedom, resilience, and meaning. In ordinary life, this principle holds true. Each deliberate act of attention, each moment you resist distraction, compounds quietly yet powerfully. Seneca warned, "True happiness is to enjoy the present, without anxious dependence upon the future." Presence cannot be achieved without focus. Attention is the gateway to serenity. Every time you bring your mind back from the trivial to the essential, you are building inner strength, shaping character, and cultivating a life aligned with your highest values. Focus does not merely improve productivity, it transforms your perception, stabilizes your emotions, and fortifies your spirit against the chaos of the world. The person who masters attention moves through life with calm, authority, responding thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively, and creating meaning from the ordinary moments that others let slip by. In this practice, you discover the profound truth of Stoicism, mastery of the mind is the foundation of all growth, freedom, and fulfillment. There is an invisible strength in the mind that chooses focus over distraction, a strength that shapes the course of a life more than talent, luck, or circumstance ever could. Most people live fragmented lives, moving from one impulse to another, never realizing that their attention is the most valuable resource they possess. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Quality cannot exist without deliberate attention." Epictetus reminds us that wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. The mind that is scattered, that yields to every distraction, is impoverished. The mind that is disciplined in focus is rich beyond measure. Viktor Frankl, in The Harshest Conditions, discovered that even when external freedom is stripped away, the human spirit remains free through the conscious choice of where to place attention. Each moment you return your mind to what truly matters, each refusal to indulge in triviality, is an act of liberation. Seneca said, "It is not that we have little time, but that we waste much of it." Growth is born from reclaiming this time, from dedicating attention to what strengthens, nurtures, and develops the mind and character. Focus transforms ordinary moments into opportunities for insight, reflection, and meaningful action. It is a subtle force, invisible to the outside world, yet profoundly effective. With consistent practice, the mind becomes calm, deliberate, and unshakable. Life is no longer a series of reactive moments, but a carefully navigated path, guided by conscious choice. Focus is the bridge between potential and reality, between chaos and clarity, and between distraction and true growth. In mastering your attention, you master yourself, and in mastering yourself, you create the life you were meant to live. Life constantly tempts us with novelty, entertainment, and urgent but trivial matters, convincing the mind that scattering itself is freedom. Yet Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." True freedom begins with mastery of your own attention. Epictetus teaches that no man is free who is not master of himself. To grow, you must train your mind to return to what is essential over and over, again, in the face of resistance and internal chaos. Viktor Frankl endured unimaginable suffering and discovered that even in the harshest conditions, the conscious choice of focus created meaning and preserved dignity. This same principle applies to your daily life. Each time you resist distraction, each moment you bring your attention to what matters, you build resilience, clarity, and strength. Seneca warned, "It is not that we have little time, but that we waste much of it. Every moment surrendered to the trivial is lost to the person you are becoming." Focus is not a fleeting skill, it is a disciplined way of inhabiting life, a commitment to yourself and to the growth of your mind and character. Over time, this persistent attention transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary, chaos into order, and potential into tangible progress. The mind that is trained in focus becomes unshakable, calm, and deliberate. It navigates life with intention rather than impulse, perceives opportunities where others see only distraction, and builds a foundation of strength invisible to the outside world but palpable within. Mastery of attention is, ultimately, mastery of self, and in this mastery lies the quiet, steady path to growth, fulfillment, and freedom. Most people drift through life, responding to every sound, every notification, every impulse, believing that constant motion is equivalent to progress. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Distractions, interruptions, and temptations are not obstacles to growth, they are the tests of your discipline, the measures of your ability to hold your attention deliberately. Epictetus teaches that we are disturbed not by what happens to us, but by our thoughts about it. Focus is the antidote to these disturbances, the tool by which you reclaim calm, clarity, and control over your inner world. Viktor Frankl's experience demonstrates that even when the external world imposes suffering, the mind retains the freedom to choose its focus, and with that choice, meaning can be forged. In daily life, this principle is no less powerful. Every time you redirect your attention from the trivial to the essential, every moment you resist the pull of distraction, you exercise sovereignty over your own mind. Seneca warned, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve." This applies not only to relationships but to thoughts themselves. Allow only those that elevate, clarify, and strengthen. Through persistent, deliberate attention, ordinary moments become opportunities for insight. Challenges become lessons in resilience, and action becomes aligned with your highest values. The mind trained in focus grows calm, deliberate, and unshakable. It perceives opportunity where others see chaos, navigates challenges with composure, and transforms potential into reality. Focus is the silent foundation of growth. It is the unseen force that turns intention into achievement and effort into transformation. To master attention is to master life itself. There is a quiet authority that arises when you learn to hold your mind steady. Life constantly bombards us with noise, urgency, and fleeting temptations, each one vying for a fragment of your attention. Most people surrender without realizing the cost. Fragments of focus lost become fragments of life lost. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." Awareness of the brevity of life demands that attention be treated as sacred, that each moment be directed with purpose. Epictetus teaches that freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. To focus is to exercise this freedom, to claim your mind from the constant pull of the external world and anchor it in what truly matters. Viktor Frankl endured the unendurable and discovered that even in confinement, attention directed with intention preserved meaning and dignity. The lesson for you is subtle but transformative. Each act of deliberate focus, repeated day after day, quietly builds clarity, strength, and resilience. Seneca reminds us, true happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future. But presence cannot exist without focus. The mind must be deliberately trained to resist distraction, to return repeatedly to the essential, and to act with purpose. Over time, this discipline transforms the ordinary into extraordinary, the reactive into deliberate, and the chaotic into controlled. The person who masters attention walks through life with calm authority, perceives opportunities where others see confusion, and cultivates a strength invisible to the outside world but undeniable within. Focus is the foundation of character, the bedrock of growth, and the pathway to freedom, the quiet, unshakable force that shapes a life worth living. Life tempts us with immediacy and noise, convincing the mind that distraction is freedom, that busyness is purpose. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Attention shapes the quality of thought, and thought shapes the soul." Epictetus reminds us that it is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. Growth begins when you observe the mind without assumption, when you confront distraction with deliberate choice, and when you anchor your awareness in what matters. Viktor Frankl's insight in the darkest circumstances of human suffering was that freedom exists in the ability to choose your focus, and with it, meaning. In ordinary life, this principle is equally powerful. Each decision to resist the trivial, to return to your purpose, and to engage fully with your moment strengthens resilience, deepens insight, and fortifies character. Seneca observed, "We are always complaining that our days are few, and acting as though there would be no end to them. Every scattered thought is time lost, potential squandered." Focus is the invisible force that transforms these moments into deliberate steps of growth. It stabilizes the mind, aligns action with intention, and cultivates a life guided by clarity rather than impulse. When you practice focus consistently, you begin to notice a subtle transformation. The world no longer dictates your mind, challenges no longer unsettle you, and even in chaos, you retain a serene composure. Mastery of attention is mastery of life. It is the quiet foundation upon which all growth, freedom, and fulfillment are built, and it is available to anyone willing to claim it. There is an inner strength that emerges when you insist on directing your mind toward what truly matters. Most of life is spent reacting to noise, to obligation, to the incessant pull of distraction, never realizing that the greatest mastery is over one's own attention. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Epictetus echoes this sentiment, teaching that no man is free who is not master of himself. Focus is the tool through which this mastery is achieved. Viktor Frankl's experiences in extreme suffering reveal a timeless truth. Even when circumstances are harsh and external freedom is stripped away, the mind retains the ability to choose where it rests, and in that choice lies dignity, meaning, and resilience. In everyday life, the same principle applies. Each moment that you return your attention from the trivial to the essential, each time you resist distraction, you are building an invisible fortress of clarity and strength within yourself. Seneca warned, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Every thought surrendered to chaos, every moment lost to frivolity, diminishes potential." Focus is not only a practice of discipline, it is a declaration of respect for your own life. It transforms ordinary tasks into deliberate acts of growth, challenges into lessons in resilience, scattered moments into coherent steps toward mastery. The mind trained in attention becomes calm, deliberate, and unshakable, capable of perceiving opportunity where others see confusion, navigating adversity with composure, and cultivating a life built on purpose rather than impulse. In this quiet, relentless practice lies the essence of growth, freedom, and fulfillment, a life shaped from the inside out, guided by deliberate attention and unwavering presence. Most people drift, giving their attention freely to every impulse, notification, or distraction, believing that they are living fully, when in truth they are scattering the very essence of their potential. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Every fragmented thought leaves its mark, shaping your perception, your choices, and ultimately the life you inhabit." Epictetus teaches that it is not what happens to you, but how you react to it, that matters. The power to react wisely, to respond with calm clarity rather than impulsive motion, lies in the deliberate control of attention. Viktor Frankl, in circumstances that would have broken most, discovered that the mind remains free through intentional focus, and through this freedom, meaning and dignity are preserved. In ordinary life, the principle is no less transformative. Each time you resist the lure of distraction, each time you anchor your attention to what truly matters, you cultivate clarity, patience, and strength. Seneca reminds us, we are always complaining that our days are few and acting as though there would be no end to them. Every moment spent scattered, every thought surrendered to the trivial, is time lost, opportunity wasted, and growth delayed. Focus transforms ordinary moments into deliberate acts of creation. It is the invisible force that aligns thought with action, intention result, and character with purpose. A mind trained in attention becomes resilient, calm, and capable of navigating chaos with ease. This practice is not flashy or celebrated, yet it is the foundation upon which all meaningful growth, freedom, and fulfillment is built. The life of focus is a life of quiet power, steady progress, and enduring wisdom. There is a quiet mastery in the mind that chooses focus over distraction, a mastery that most overlook because it is invisible and slow, yet its effects are profound. Life tempts us endlessly with trivialities, fleeting pleasures and urgent demands, convincing us that being busy is the same as being productive and that distraction is the same as freedom. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. True power begins in the command of attention. Epictetus teaches that freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. When you force yourself to focus, you exercise this freedom, reclaiming your mind from the incessant pull of the world and directing it toward what matters most. Viktor Frankl endured circumstances that would have broken anyone. Yet he discovered that meaning and dignity arise from the conscious choice of focus, no matter the external chaos. In your own life, each moment that you resist distraction, each thought you return to purpose is a quiet act of sovereignty. Seneca said, "It is not that we have little time, but that we waste much of it. Attention, once lost, can never be regained, and growth slips away with every moment surrendered to the trivial." Focus is not merely a tool, it is a practice of character, a cultivation of resilience, and a deliberate shaping of life itself. Over time, this discipline transforms ordinary moments into steps of progress, scattered energy into concentrated power, and potential into tangible achievement. A mind trained in focus navigates the world with calm clarity, sees opportunity where others see chaos, and creates meaning from the very fabric of daily life. In mastering attention, you master yourself, and in mastering yourself, you cultivate a life that is deliberate, resilient, and deeply fulfilling. There is a quiet mastery in the mind that chooses focus over distraction, a mastery few ever cultivate but one that shapes a life profoundly. Life tempts us endlessly with trivialities, fleeting pleasures and urgent demands, convincing us that busyness is progress and distraction is freedom. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. True strength is born in the discipline of attention, in the deliberate choice to return your mind to what matters again and again. Epictetus teaches that freedom is won by mastering yourself, by directing your thoughts toward purpose rather than surrendering them to chaos. Viktor Frankl endured suffering unimaginable, yet he discovered that meaning and dignity arise from the conscious choice of focus, no matter the circumstances. Each moment you reclaim your attention, each time you resist the trivial, you fortify your mind, shape your character, and craft a life aligned with your deepest values. Seneca said, "It is not that we have little time, but that we waste much of it." Every conscious act of focus is a step toward freedom, growth, and fulfillment. Focus transforms ordinary moments into deliberate acts of creation, scattered energy into concentrated power, and potential into reality. A mind trained in attention moves through life with calm clarity, perceives opportunity where others see chaos, and creates meaning from the fabric of daily existence. Master your attention, and you master yourself. Master yourself, and you master your life. If this message resonated with you, share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to Stoicism Notebook for more insights to strengthen your mind and elevate your life.